Thanks to the support as a channel member, Dan Miles. Operation Try and Find a Goalkeeper that's actually any good is in full swing in the January transfer window. The only problem is we have no money, so we've got to sell a load of players first. So I'm also trying to do that. Paris Saint-Germain seem to just hoover up all the good goalkeepers, by the way. It's quite upsetting. Hello, welcome to Club 3, Part 12 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we face Premier League champions Brighton in the Champions League, and then we have a big Bundesliga game against Leipzig as well. Since you were last with me, we've carried on our lovely run of winning form. Everything looking good. The Bundesliga league table is looking very, very attractive, and Conor Egan is the top scorer in the division and the best player in the division, and that just makes me very happy because he got a lot of stick in the chat towards the end of last week. In the chat, we're not on Twitch, Kev. In the comments towards the end of last week, of people saying they didn't get him, shouldn't have bought him. 12 goals from 13 appearances, a 7.58, best striker in the division. There he is in the Dream 11 as well. Second best player in the division, second only to the absurdly good Damiano Cerulli. So it wasn't that Egan wasn't good enough for Bayern Munich. It was just that they happened to have the best striker in the game and only play a one-striker system. Big Kev's there is fourth as well. So it just shows the strength in depth Bayern had in that centre-forward position before I came and lightened their load a little bit. Talking of lightening the load, we are actively trying to get rid of players so we can fund our new goalkeepers. Quite a few familiar names have left the club. Thomas Nesid has left for £17.75 million. He's gone to Al Fire. Alberto Luque has also left. He's gone to Al Taoun for £19 million. And then we've loaned out some of the youngsters that we signed in the summer as well. Tichy has gone on loan to Benfica until the end of the season, and Conan, who we spent a lot of money on, has gone back to Genk where we signed him from, because he's to be fair, 2 assists and 3 substitute appearances. He's not been a flop, but he's just not had the game time to justify spending £22 million on him. So Genk are very happy that he's back inside 6 months. There's still a few players we want to get rid of. We'd love to get rid of Smith Rowe, but obviously he's done his cruciate ligaments because he's Emil Smith Rowe. Hasan Begovic is someone we would have liked to have loaned out, but he's picked up an injury as well, which is making it more difficult to get him out the door. And we'd also like to get rid of Franco Gonzalez because we can't fit him into the Champions League squad properly. I mean, we have just squashed him into the Champions League squad for this fixture, but even today he can't play because he's played for the B team today. He's not really a first team player for us anymore, so I think it's probably time to move him on. I also mentioned as well in the early bit of the video that Paris Saint-Germain hoover up all the young goalkeepers. They don't necessarily keep them, but they're very expensive when they come back out of Paris Saint-Germain. So this guy, for example, they signed for $500,000, sold him for $42 million to Leipzig. Would love to be able to bring him in. I think this guy passed through. No, there was another one. I think he must have been on my actual shortlist. There was another guy, maybe this guy, passed through Paris Saint-Germain as well. No, I did find multiple examples. I just can't find them now. But basically, all the good goalkeepers go through Paris Saint-Germain. And this is the problem we've got with goalkeepers. The ones who are good enough, like the proper elite level keepers who would improve us, like Antonio Carlos at Manchester United, who is just very, very good. But he'd cost us over £200 million. So we obviously can't sign him. Even the ones with high potential like this guy would be a bit of a no-brainer, I guess, to bring in. He is only 5'11", but he's young. He'll get taller. But £30 million for a 19-year-old who's only got 1.5 star of current ability seems mad. And you can see again, as soon as a youngster with potential appears, he gets hoovered up. He's joining Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm kind of left picking at the scraps. I'm looking at this guy, Andrea Vujovic, who, I mean, he's already wanted. He's wanted on loan. We could potentially pick him, but he's not going to solve the problem now, is he? For someone who's actually going to solve the problem now. Look, another one at Paris Saint-Germain. Bart Verbruggen is there. I mean, this guy maybe Sereni Diemi. We've not really scouted him properly yet, so we need to scout him a little bit more. We've only got minimal knowledge of him. First impression is he might be an improvement. He's only 6 feet tall. But, I mean, I guess maybe he's an option. But realistically, he's the only one who could potentially be an upgrade over Ribeiro, and even that is questionable, and we'll find out more once he gets properly scouted, but we're probably not going to be bringing anybody in today. We'll see what happens. Let's go play Brighton, shall we? Who, as mentioned in the last episode, did win the Premier League last season, but have had a terrible first half of the follow-up season. They're down with Burton. Have Burton sacked the new manager? No, he's still there. Apparently Burton just happy being a mid-table team. Good to see that I'm still on the club legends list as well. I was a little bit worried I'd be moved off that list within a little bit of time of leaving. In fact, have they moved into the new stadium? No. Have they decided to call it the Kevin Chapman Stadium yet? Nope, still just the Burton Stadium. Heartbroken by that. I think they've still got time to change their mind. But this is the team for the Brighton game. We've got Ribeiro in goal, a back four of Van Veen, Garcia, Schikowski and Borches, Dukic and Van Aijmet in midfield, Moreira and Carrier out wide, Egan and Emil Hiskey up front. Come on then, let's go and prove that we are capable of going one better in the Champions League this year by beating a Premier League team. I mean, I know we did beat Manchester United in the last episode, so theoretically we should be able to beat Brighton as well. But I mean, we could potentially win it all this year. We're so well clear in Bundesliga. If our next couple of matches in the Champions League go well and we end up in this top 8 and get a favourable draw, obviously we narrowly missed out last year on both the Bundesliga and the Champions League. We could go and get those sorted out this year, and then I guess we come up with a plan. I'm not going to count my chickens before they're hatched, because that would be silly, wouldn't it? I have learned from last season, Evan Ferguson's still at Brighton. That possibly explains how they managed to win the Premier League, the fact that he's still there. One of the best young strikers in FM24, and they've managed to keep hold of him somehow, and he's picked up trophies by staying there, which I guess he'd consider that a win. He'd probably have more trophies if he'd have left, though, to be honest. But yeah, I think similar to what I said last season, I don't think the save ends if we win everything with Dortmund this year, because I don't feel like this has been a legendary career yet. Just the one domestic league trophy and one Champions League. I don't know. It doesn't feel legendary. It feels, especially if we're doing both in the same season, it's just like an 18-month purple patch at Borussia Dortmund. I think what we would do if we won everything is we would leave Dortmund, but I don't know. I feel like the save's not complete without a Premier League win, so we might have to go back to the Premier League. Not necessarily straight back to the Premier League. Obviously, there's other leagues we can head to as well, and maybe see if we can pick up a few more domestic leagues, earn our stripes, and then move back to the Premier League and finish things off with a Premier League win somewhere. I mean, the dream would be to head back to Burton in a few years when they're settled in their new stadium. Maybe this guy moves on and I can head back to Burton, having already won Bundesliga, a couple of Champions Leagues, a La Liga, a Serie A, and then head back into Burton and finally deliver a Premier League to them and then retire. That sounds like a legendary career. It is a bit of a tall order, though, so we'll see what happens. Like I say, that does involve us winning everything this year. And I just said I wasn't going to count my chickens before they hatched and then proceeded to start chicken counting. So that might be a mistake, because it's still only 0-0 against Brighton and they seem to be relatively problematic. So Let's try and get a breakthrough, shall we? Half time, 0-0. We've not really been in it at all. Brighton, once again, this seems to be the theme with us. We come up against these narrow systems. The box system obviously did it for us in the Champions League last year. This time around, it's a diamond, but it's all the same. It's just going very, very narrow. And despite the fact we do play with a lot of width and our best players are out wide, we just seem to struggle against these narrow formations. I need a plan for coming up against these narrow formations, because they are proving to be a problem every time we come up against them in their various forms. And I need, this is what we do. In fact, didn't I come up with one of these? Didn't we train something? Was it this? I think I decided this was the narrow system killer. What was past Kev thinking? That's a cautious system. Ugh. Oh, I feel unclean. We'd be happy with a draw, to be honest, away against Brighton. They're the Premier League champions. A draw here is fine. Obviously, we'd like the win, but a draw would be fine. Let's just shuffle out the tired players a little bit. We do just about cling on to a top 8 spot as things stand, but obviously there are more games that are played tomorrow night, so we probably do move out of the top 8 going into the final round of matches if we don't pick up 3 points here. But there's still enough time for us to grab a goal. Van Veen, our captain, charging down the left-hand side. Can he find the cross? It's taken a big deflection. It bobbles around in the area. Everyone's having a go at it, and it falls to Bruno Herrera, and he applies the finish, and it's 1-0 to Borussia Dortmund. And that should, as long as everything else continues to go our way from this point on, that should be us rubber stamping our spot in the last 8. And straight into the top 8, which gets us straight into the last 16. What a complicated version of the... Apparently, they might not even be doing this version of the Champions League anymore. Someone told me the other day. So it would just be something complicated we had to put up with for a few years in Football Manager. That's nice, isn't it? Maybe it will work like this. Who knows? It's supposed to start next season, I think. Is that right? Next season? Are they still doing this? Let me know down in the comments. It's a corner. Herrera to take. In swinger. Garcia's there but can't get contact with it. Emil Hiskey heads it back into the area. And it falls to Borches, who keeps the move going, but not to enough of an extent to justify continuing the highlight. We're going to bring on Maui in midfield. We're going to bring on Colombo at left back. And hopefully we're going to see this one out. 4th place at the moment, which is a jolly nice place to be hanging out, if you ask me. You take it with a pinch of salt when you see Benfica are in 3rd as well, and we've just loaned a fringe player to Benfica, and they've just started playing him straight away. So I guess a lot comes down to who you actually end up playing in these league stages. If you get a favourable run of matches, it's quite easy to kind of end up in a higher position than you maybe deserve to be in. Evan Ferguson, eh? When am I going to learn? If you mention an opposition player in a Football Manager match, the game is listening and he is going to score against you. And Evan Ferguson proving that rule is as true today as it's ever been. We've been better in the second half. We've actually had some shots, generated some chances, some XG. We've played quite well in this second half, but not enough to come away with the 3 points. So we are going to need a result in the final league game, and then probably some other results to go our way to rubber stamp the top 8, but we're not going to worry about that in this episode. What we are going to worry about is beating Leipzig and hopefully extending our lead at the top of the Bundesliga, because then we can just focus completely on the Champions League for the second half of the season, and that's the goal here. So just the one change for the Leipzig game, because all these years later, I still don't really know how to rotate properly. Ayadeli comes in alongside Van Aja. Van Aja, by the way, consistently trains at a 10 out of 10. I know we had a little look at him in the last episode, but not only is he great, he trains at a 10 out of 10, so he's just getting better and better. Oh, I love him. I love him so much. I've also finally decided to give Emil Hiskey his actual name, and Big Kev has been given his actual name as well, because I finally got round to doing it. See, don't say I never do anything. It's only taken me for Big Kev over a season, and Emil Hiskey, it's taken half a season, but they do have their actual names. Hopefully giving them their real names doesn't remove their exquisite powers. Leipzig down in 5th place. Really interesting to see our local rival Schalke right up there in 4th place. I'm not really sure what's gotten into Schalke, because obviously in real life, Schalke not having a very nice time at all. I even did a Schalke rebuild on the channel early in the year. You should go and watch that. It was a good video. But they've obviously burst back to life and are up challenging for the Champions League spots at the expense of Leipzig at the moment. But Leipzig were a team who I think finished 4th last year. They were a good side. They held us to a draw on the in the opening episode of this season. So they are a good team. More confusingly, I guess, is that Bayer Leverkusen are all the way down there in 8th place, having won the league last year. We are 21 points ahead of last season's champions, and we're only just over halfway through the season. That's an absurd situation. I mean, Mikel Arteta presumably has been sacked as manager of Leverkusen, because there's no excuses for being that far behind after the season that they had last year. Emil Hiskey, there you go, getting his tackle in. He's not lost his powers. Lovely stuff. But we are having to put up with Leipzig just knocking the ball around us relatively comfortably here, and a bit of a scramble at the back, and we've given away a penalty. And this is sloppy defending all round, really, all the way back to giving the ball away on the halfway line. we were sloppy at left back, and then we've been sloppy in the middle. Nobody just getting the ball clear, and we might be about to go behind here. We need a big moment from Ribeiro to convince me that we don't need another goalkeeper after all. We don't get one, and we are losing at home. We've not lost a football match in any competition for a while at this point, and this would be a little bit of a shock to the system if it ended like this today. We're going to go attacking because I don't care for this at all. What's most upsetting as well is that they're not playing one of those horrible little narrow systems. They're coming at us and playing wide. I mean, they are playing a flat back seven, so they are a bunch of cowards, but they're not using my kryptonite against me, but they are ahead. And we need to sort ourselves out in this second half. And I mean, we need to get to half-time without conceding another goal, then sort ourselves out for the second half. But the corner comes in. Ribeiro slaps at it. I wouldn't even call that a punch. That was very much a slap, but it did get the ball clear. And we go in at half-time, 1-0 down, give them a little bit of a roasting. Whose fault is it? Who are we blaming this on? I mean, the whole defence were poor. We're not making any changes yet, other than the fact we've already gone attacking. We will have to start mixing things up early in this second half, though. If we don't sort ourselves out. We've not had a shot on target yet. We're not really generating any XG. We've just been very poor. It's Champions League hangover. Should have rotated more. I'll never learn my lesson, apparently. I'll never learn that's what you have to do. Carrier on the left-hand side. Cross comes in. Lovely, big, deep cross. Schikowski still forward. Ayadeli shoots from the edge of the area. It's our first shot on target of the match. And we've scored. It's our first ever Dortmund goal for Ayadeli. And couldn't have come at a more opportune time as far as I'm concerned. 1-1, and fingers crossed we can now go on and win this game. But it's a lovely, big, deep cross from Carrier with the big centre-back still forward from the long throw at the far post. Just nods it down, and it just caused all kinds of problem. If in doubt, get a big lad into the penalty area. That seems to be the solution for every problem in life. Borches running the wrong way with the ball here. Schikowski plays it all the way back to Ribeiro. And now forward to Garcia, another one of our big boys. He's pushing forward now. Maria into Emil Hiskey, and there is Egan, and he might have been offside. He's so quick, he has no real excuse for ever being offside. He doesn't need to be. He's quicker than everybody else. So presumably he has stayed on, and it just looked offside. No, he was actually offside. What a silly goose. Is that what he looks like? I don't think I've ever looked at him before. He looks like a small boy. Yeah, he doesn't need to be that offside. He's so quick. He just needs to time those runs a little better because he doesn't need the advantage of being offside. He could start slightly behind, never mind level, and still beat the opposition player to that ball. So he needs some training. Who's training that boy? Right. Let's not concede. We've got Leipzig kind of camped out on the edge of our area temporarily, and we've given away another penalty. What on earth is going on today? Their tactic seems to be get the ball vaguely near the penalty area and then fall over. A second penalty awarded against us in this match. Can we have heroics from Ribeiro this time? That would be nice. And we don't. 2-1 down. 2 penalties. I feel like this is a conspiracy. Right. Demand more. And it's time for some changes because we've not played well. Egan, in particular, not played well. Big Kev's going to come on for Egan. And we're also going to bring on Adeyemi on the left-hand side. Just a couple of changes, just to try and give us something different going forward. We've now got a big man in the attack. We've got Adeyemi, who, of course, is on his day full of goals, and fingers crossed, we can once again find a route back into the match. Carrier leading the counter-attack, finds Adeyemi. He's got Van Veen on the overlap if he can find him. I don't think he even saw him. Van Veen was in so much space there. All he needed was that ball just slipping out to him, and he's there ready to cross for Big Kev. But unfortunately, Adeyemi, he shouldn't even need to see him. Adeyemi should just know he's going to be there because Van Veen is always making that run. It shouldn't have been news to anybody that he was in that position. And we're 3-1 down, and this was not in the script for today's episode. Well, we're demanding more again. I mean, I don't berate ever, really. I'm tempted to berate. I don't want to see the replay. We are still a little bit vulnerable on our day, aren't we? We're well clear at the top of the league, but we have just our moments of silliness. We're going to bring Herrera on. And I guess we have done this at times this year. We've done this. I don't think I've done it on camera, but this has been something I've done a couple of times. We make him an inverted wing back, and then we play Dukic in there as a libero, and we basically go to a 2. We have Van Veen pushing forward and Dukic basically stepping forward into midfield where he normally hangs out. It was something I was experimenting with as a potential way to get around the narrow formations. I didn't think of it when we were just playing against a narrow formation. But, I mean, we may as well try it. I don't know that it's going to make much of a difference today, but an extra body in midfield might help to break down this 7 defenders that they've got. Stallone is tired, so he's the last one to come off. We'll go very attacking. We're 2 goals down, but we'll go very attacking. I suspect we're not getting anything out of today, which is a little bit unfortunate. We are still well clear at the top of the table, so it's not the end of the world, but it's not been a good performance, has it? Herrera to Dukic, and there he is, just part of that midfield 3. I quite like it because it does leave us a little bit vulnerable at the back, just the 2 defenders back there. But I think in the circumstances when we're chasing 2 goals, that's fine. Maui plays Adeyemi in. Adeyemi across to Big Kev, back to Maui. That's not the move. That is not what Big Kev should have been doing there. Big Kev should be, at the very least, holding that up. He's a striker. He should be scoring, but he shouldn't be playing it back out of the penalty area. That was a dangerous position and a poor piece of decision-making. Big Kev, I'm going to take his nickname off him again if he carries on doing stuff like that. Right, Maui. Loads of room to run into because Leipzig are not playing a midfield. They've got 3 attackers and 7 defenders. Adeyemi cuts through. That's a lovely goal from Adeyemi. It's probably too little too late. That's what we brought him on for. But with a minute of normal time left and potentially, there'll be some injury time. We don't know how much. We have got the opportunity to try and salvage something from this game. Good work from Adeyemi. How much added time are we getting? 5 minutes. There could be an equaliser in this for us. Can you get forward and do a goal, lads? No, we're not even going to get a highlight. I mean, what more could I do? We're on very attacking. I've demanded more. We've delivered nothing. That's poor. Good job we're so far clear at the top of the league, or I'd be very, very cross there. Right, we're assuming, I think we are already through in the Champions League, we are. So tomorrow's episode will be a Champions League knockout round of some kind. Fingers crossed it'll be one where we finished top 8, but might not be. Might be that playoff round. We're going to need other results to go away. I'm assuming we're going to win because they are rock bottom. They've not won a game. They've not even. They've lost every single game they've played. They've conceded 27 goals. We're going to win. We just need Barcelona, Everton, Juventus, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. We need a few of them to slip up. It'll be fine. If you enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.